This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Why do I feel like, actually, I'm not saying that. Because I feel like every single time that I do a sit-down video, I'm like, I feel like it's been forever since I've done a sit-down video. It hasn't. Anyway, hello everybody and welcome to yet another video from me on my channel. Is this what you're here for? I hope so. So, last year when June rolled around, as it does, I did I think it was a mid-year book tag where it was kind of like you answer some questions and kind of discuss books that you've read so far this year and like stuff that you want to read for the remainder of the year. And my thing is that every time I sit down and film a book tag, it's just, my answers are so repetitive even when I try to come up with like different answers. So I didn't want to do a book tag. I just thought maybe we can sit down and do a little mid-year wrap up of like all the books I read so far this year and their ratings and if I recommend them. I'm not going to do full-on reviews for these books because that's usually what I do in my monthly wrap up, so I don't want it to feel repetitive. And also there are some books that I haven't fully talked about yet and I kind of want to save those for like my monthly wrap ups at the end of the month, because I didn't do one in May because I think I read like 4 or 5 books in May. I can't remember a direct number, but it just wasn't enough for me to like sit down and make a video for, so I just am going to attach that onto the end, like on the beginning of June's wrap up. Anyway, I'm just going to tell you guys the rating and if I recommend them, and we're just going to kind of go through all of them. I think I've read roughly 75 books this year. I think 2 of them were DNFs, so we'll say 73 for those of you who don't count DNFs. Okay, guys, before we get deep into today's video, I do want to say a thank you to today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Now, you guys know I've been talking about Squarespace for quite a while on my channel because I love them. Genuinely, when it comes to building your own website, I feel like Squarespace is literally the best way to go, because I want to be honest with you guys, when it comes to technology, somehow, even though I am Gen Z or whatever, I am not good at building websites or messing with technology like that. I'm just not good at it, and Squarespace is the only website that I've been able to freely and easily and creatively build my own website. Now, the main reason why it's been so easy for me to build a website on Squarespace is because they have so many creative and free templates to use that I can base my designs off of that help me kind of follow a structure while also being as creative as I can. Also, with someone like me who, when I am creating and trying to construct a website, I'm thinking about obviously ways that I can share things, because that's basically what I do with my life on social media, is that I'm sharing content everywhere. I love that Squarespace makes it so easy for me to share, whether that's photos, videos, stories, anything like that, because they have great blogging features on their website. And I also use it to categorize, share, and I can schedule my post all throughout their blogging tools. And with everything else, whether that's any of your social medias that you're running, anything that you run, you always want to look at analytics. Or maybe I'm just the only person that's super obsessed with analytics, but I love that Squarespace does offer this for me. Even if you're not somebody who's just running a blog, or you're somebody who's using Squarespace to run a storefront, their analytics can show you how many people are visiting your website. You can learn where people are coming from all throughout the world. This way it helps you analyze kind of what channels are more effective and where to go with what you're doing with your website, which is so helpful. It literally does so many things, not just who's coming to your website, but what your top keywords are, your most popular products, or your most popular content that you're making on the blog. It all helps you see all of that. That way you know exactly where to go with your next steps the further you get into your website. If you guys are interested, you guys can head to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you guys are ready to launch, you guys can head to squarespace.com/DestinySaidWell to get 10% off your first purchase on a website or domain. Thank you so much again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. I love you guys. Let's get back into today's video. My reading goal was 200. It still is. I just don't really care to fail. I fail a lot, so I'm just kind of like, at this point, it's whatever. But actually, have I read more than 75? Because I feel like I'm missing a few. Yeah, I literally skipped, no. Yeah, it's 75. My reading goal is 200 for 2023. Who knows if I'll make it there? Maybe I'll have a spectacular month. Who knows? But it's not looking very likely, because I would have had to have been at like 100 already. But you know what? It's okay. I'm honestly not that worried about it. I did not expect to get hit by a truck called a book slump. The worst one that I've had in my reading career. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to start from January to now in order. You're welcome for that. Ugh, the strength in my one hand, because I just did that in one hand. Anyway, I started the year off super strong with reading House of Sky and Breath, which is the second book in the Crescent City series. By the way, January of 2024 is when Crescent City 3 comes out. Sarah J. Maas, please give me an arc. I never ask for arcs, but I think I would roll over and die if I got one. This was a 5-star. 100% please read the Crescent City series. Next up, I gave the Cruel Prince trilogy, so we're just going to talk about this as a trilogy another try. I think I'd only ever read the Cruel Prince before this, but I like knew everything that happened in the other 2 books because I remember reading the Cruel Prince back in like 2021 and not wanting to continue on, but I wanted to know what happened, so I looked up what happened in the other book, so it really wasn't a surprise to me. But overall, I gave this a 3 stars. I think it's a really good fantasy. When people market this as a romance, and it's absolutely not one, so if you go in thinking it's a romance, you're just gonna be disappointed. But if you like really politics-based fantasy and like kind of higher stakes, I would definitely give this series a go. Then I did my reread of A Little Life. I read this back in 2021 as well. 2021, yeah, I think so. And this, I only reread this book because I wanted to fully annotate it, because this is a 5-star read for me and it still held up to be 5 stars. I don't recommend anybody this book though. There's just so much, like so many trigger warnings in this book. Please look them up, because honestly I think it has like every single trigger warning under the sun almost. A lot of people describe this book as trauma porn. Like that's just how it's described by a lot of people. This group of 4 like guys that have stuck together since college and follows them throughout their whole entire life. It is so amazing and so heart-wrenching and so beautiful, but I don't recommend it. Next up, I read Caraval, which I think I gave a 3 stars, and I will stick with that rating. And I will recommend this to you guys. It's a fun fantasy book. It's very light fantasy. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I would absolutely recommend you guys to read this book. If you guys are wondering, I do not give nonfiction, especially memoirs, any rating, because I feel like it's unfair for me to read about somebody's life and give that a rating. But I do think that this is a great book and that you guys should give this a read if you haven't yet. I know this like blew up around the time that I read it. My first DNF of the year was Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne, so I think it's needless to say that I wouldn't necessarily recommend you this book. Next up, we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I gave this book a 4 stars. I would definitely recommend all of Abby Jimenez's books. I really like and enjoy all of her books. This one's like a small town, so if you want like a small town romance that's super rom-com-y, I would really recommend this one. Next stack, then I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, yes. And this is also a 5-star read for me. I think about this book literally so much. I really like it and I really want to reread it, so I would 100% recommend you guys to read this one. We have The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. Freida McFadden is blowing up, so I'm sure that a lot of you have read this, but if you haven't yet and you are looking for a very fast-paced thriller, I would recommend this one. I gave this one a 4 stars. I didn't predict the big plot twist, but I think it was just because honestly I was just vibing. Then I have Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I gave this a 4.75 stars. I would really recommend it. This was very intimidating because it's about a tennis player, and I thought, I don't really love tennis. Like, I like it, but I don't love it, and I don't really know anything about it, so I don't know if I'm gonna like this book. And I read it for a video, and I was thoroughly surprised. Then we have Lessons in Chemistry, which I rated at 3 stars, and I would really recommend this to you if you love literary fiction and you want to read about a strong female character in a time, I think it takes place in like the 50s and 60s, I think. Anyway, then we have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, which I think I gave like a 3.5. Maybe I gave it a 4 stars at the time, but it's definitely like a 3. I would recommend you guys read this after the Cruel Prince trilogy. Then we have Say You Swear, which is another 5-star. I really want to reread this book because I love Noah Riley. Then I read Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez, and I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4.5 stars. Again, this is one of my favorite Abby Jimenez books, and I really enjoyed it. I just love her writing and everything. I would recommend any of her books. Then we have The Final Offer by Lauren Asher, which I actually rated, I think was it a 4.75 or a 5 stars? 4.75. And I really loved this book. I can't remember exactly why it wasn't a 5 stars, but I remember really loving it. And I would absolutely recommend the Dreamland Billionaire series because this is the 3rd book in that series. And then I read 7 Days in June, which is actually very appropriate. I always saved this book to read in June. Like I had it like on my physical TBR for like a year, and I was like, I'm gonna read it in June, and then I read it in February. But still, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this like a 3.5. And then I read Playing Hard to Get by Monica Murphy, which I don't have a physical copy of, but I gave this one a 2 stars. This one's another sports romance, but honestly, I forgot that I even read it. When I look back at my Notion list, I forgot that I even read it. Then we have The Chase, which I'm pretty sure was my first 1-star of the year. I would not recommend this. I don't really recommend Elle Kennedy's books anymore. Then we have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This was a 3 stars. Again, this one is, I think, my least favorite one, but that still, it was a strong 3 stars. I love every single one of her books. I randomly read The Predator and I gave this 1.5 stars. I don't even have any recollection of reading this book. And we have the Happy Ever After playlist, and I gave this one a 4.75. I just remember really loving this book. It was such a nice time. Then we have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. This one was a 3 stars. I read this in like my Valentine's Day vlog, and it's a kind of Groundhog Day trope on Valentine's Day. It was very enjoyable and cute, and I love Lynn Painter's writing. Same thing for Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I gave this a 3 stars as well. It was a super cute book, and I would really recommend it if you want like super cute little short YA. Then I read Set on You and X's and O's. I gave Set on You a 4 stars and X's and O's a 3 to a 3.5 stars. This one's about a book influencer, which I thought was cool, but they're just, again, cute little romances, and I would recommend them. And then I reread Daisy Jones and the Six before the TV show came out, and this was a 5 stars previously before the show came out, and when I read this, I think back in 2021, and again, still stands the test of time, a 5-star read. And then I reread The Hating Game, which I think the last time I read this again was in 2021, and I ended up giving this a 2 star, I think. Really wouldn't recommend. There's so many different good books that are like the same thing as this out there. Here we go, next stack. Then Honeymooners, again, another reread from way back in the day, and I ended up giving this a 1 stars. So much so that I literally could not even believe that I ever gave this a 5 stars. Then I reread Love and Other Words, and still 5 stars, still stands the test of time. I love this book so much. Elliot and Macy have such a special place in my heart. Then we have Beach Read by Emily Henry, again, another 5-star reread for me that stayed at 5 stars. I would recommend literally every single Emily Henry book that has ever been written. I love them very much. Then I reread Binding and Keeping 13 just because I've literally been rereading Binding 13 for like, I kid you not, over the span of like 3 months. I've just been slowly like rereading that and annotating a different copy that I got, which would be the 2nd time that I reread this series this year. If you can see my laptop, no you can't. I have Things We Hide from the Light, which is another 4.5 stars. I love Lucy Score's books, and I really like this Knock 'em Out series that she has going on, and I would really recommend it. The first book is Things We Never Got Over, and then it's Things We Hide from the Light. My second DNF of the year was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I just literally couldn't even get through over 100 pages of this book. I don't know why. And then we have By a Thread by Lucy Score, which I gave a 5 stars. Oh my gosh, I think about this book so much. I'm gonna move all of these stirrups. And now I'm just going to talk about the Throne of Glass series, because I did read the whole entire Throne of Glass series minus Throne of Glass this year, and this is a 10-star series for me. I think about this series every single day, and that's genuinely not an exaggeration. I relate this series back to literally so many different things, and I already want to reread it, and it hasn't even been like a few months since I think I finished the series in March and basically read like all of the books in March. I already just want to dive back into these characters in this story, and I've been trying to force Sarah and Haley to read / finish this series because I love it so much. And like around this time I read Saving Six and Redeeming Six. I'll just talk about them both right now, even though they were like a month apart. This is another 4.7, no. Actually, I'm changing it to a 5 stars. After sitting with these books, I just love Joey and Aoife so much that I am giving this a 5 stars. Please read the Boys of Tommen series. Since I love Bestie Sarah dearly, I decided to give Magnolia Parks a second try, which previously I had only read Magnolia Parks. I hadn't read the other 3 books, so I was giving Magnolia Parks another try, and I ended up finishing like all of the books that are out now. And honestly, I would give this series a 4 to a 4.5 stars. It's just so entertaining. The thing is that I know I would never want a relationship like these people have, but it's just so, it's like when you watch reality TV, like you would never want to act like that, but it's just so interesting to like digest that content. I will say though, I did tell Sarah that I rated this book. I changed the rating to a 5 stars, and I do want to reread the series. I don't know. I do really like it though. I somehow forgot to mention that I also read Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After, waiting patiently on the 3rd book. Stephanie Garber, if you want to send an arc, that's fine with me. I love this. Another 5-star series for me. I just love it so much. This has great fairy tale vibes. Kingdom of the Wicked, 1 star. I don't recommend this series at all. Then I read the first 3 books in the Chestnut Springs series, which is Flawless, Heartless, Powerless, and honestly, I'm gonna give this series so far a 5 star because I do think about them quite a bit, and I really, when I think about it, loved it. And then we have Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which I gave a 3 stars. This book is just but I would recommend it if you want like a Queen of Hearts retelling. And we have the Crowns of Nixia, which there's a novella in between this. I also read 6 Scorched Roses that I read in between this. I would honestly give this whole entire little series that she had going on, I think it's just, yeah, it's just a duology, but it also has that little novella. 4.5. I really enjoy these books. And now we're getting into books that I haven't talked about. So first of all, we have I'll Stop the World. 1.5. I wouldn't recommend. The Off Limits Rule, I rated it 2 stars, but I really think that I would recommend any Sarah Adams books because they're cute, they're fun, and they're easy to read. Daughter of No Worlds, I rated a 4.5 stars. Yes, absolutely get into this series. I need to continue on with it. Do you guys need to even ask what I rated Fourth Wing? Literally, it's a 10-star book. I love it. November can't come fast enough. The Brightest Light of Sunshine, I gave this a 3 stars, but I honestly think I'm going to give it a 2.5 because I have no thoughts about this book. Once More with Feeling, 1 star. I would not recommend. Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, 2 stars, wouldn't really recommend. Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which I actually gave a 3.5 stars, and I would absolutely recommend this book. It's such an interesting premise. When in Rome by Sarah Adams, which I gave a 4 stars. Again, cute, fun, easy read, and I really love the small town vibes. She started it. I shouldn't have finished it. 2 stars. Practice Makes Perfect, a 3.5 stars. Again, cute, easy, fun. I would really recommend all of Sarah Adams' books. Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand, which is a 4 stars. Best summer reads right here. Give her the award to be summer reads. And then we have Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score, which I actually rated a 3 stars. I would recommend it. It's just not the best thing that I've ever written, especially from Lucy Score. We also have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which I gave a 4.75 stars. Would absolutely recommend. This is my favorite Abby Jimenez book ever. And then we have Billy Summers by Stephen King, which I was actually just thinking about driving home today. So I'm gonna give this is a 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend, especially if you want to read Stephen King, but you're not into horror novels. He has a few of books like these where they're just kind of like crime or like fiction. Thank God that's over. I'm a little bit of a harsh rater, and if we got more into the reviews, you would see more where like my thoughts come into, but honestly, I think I only had like 3 or 4 1 stars so far this year, which is not bad because usually I'm very harsh. But I feel like there's a lot of like 3 stars or just kind of like feeling indifferent towards books. To talk about kind of like what I would like my second half of the reading year to look like, I would like to read more. Obviously, I always want to read as much as I can just because I genuinely love to read, so I always just want to read as much as I can because there's so many books on my TBR that I want to get through and I want to read them, but there's just not enough time in the day. And also, I would like to read some more nonfiction and some more just like literary fiction. Sometimes I feel like I'm very harsh on romances because I read so many back to back that they all start to feel the same, so I would like to switch up my genres in the second half of the year. And also, I would just like to be reading books that I like in the second half of the year. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. That's all that I have for you guys today. If you guys like this video, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff that you guys know how to do. And I will see you guys when I see ya.